Well, I added another piece to my collection last weekend. This is a 1927 Moto Mower with a Briggs Model PB on it. It was completely barn fresh when I brought it home. Actually, I bought it on eBay, and it came out of Michigan. But a little tinkering with the engine, and it runs pretty good actually. Basically what I had to do to the engine was clean the points, clean out the gas tank, clean out the carburetor, which wasn't bad at all. Made a new fuel line for it. The exhaust valve was stuck, and the bottom half of the exhaust valve guide was broke off, but the pieces were still there, and they're still in there now, which they're actually caged in there by the top of the valve spring retainer. So it's actually running with like basically half of a valve guide, but it doesn't seem to affect it much at all. Long term it might, but I'm not really going to run it that much. Piston was really carboned up real bad. Cleaned a lot of the carbon off the piston. This thing hadn't run in ages. The entire combustion chamber was pure white from the leaded gas that it ran on last. So that gives a pretty good indication of how long it's been sitting idle. The only thing I got to do yet is fix the drive shaft. I'm going to see if it'll quit here. It runs a little rich at idle. You can see some, maybe you can see some smoke coming out of it, black. It does not want to die. Yeah, just a couple chokes there and it'll die. The major problem with this mower is the shaft, the drive shaft. This shaft, I'm not sure if it was broken or if the sprocket hub just came loose a lot and ate the shaft up, but somebody welded it to the shaft. And therefore, it's not in quite the right position on the shaft, which presents a problem because this brass bearing that's clamped in this frame here sits in one particular spot, and the sprocket is too close to that bearing, mainly because of this bead of weld that's running around the end of it, and therefore it won't fit in between the bearing and the engine. And when I got this mower, this bearing was completely outside of this housing, and they were running it with basically no bearing. And they actually had, this is a lubrication port right there, and there was actually a set screw in there that clamped it down tight to the shaft. And as you can see, this shaft is mighty chewed up on this end. So, and the sprocket has been replaced because the original sprocket was riveted to that flange, and this sprocket has been bored out and set over top of the flange and spot welded or tack welded on this side. So if I can clean this weld up and get the shaft to fit in between the engine and the bearing here, I can probably make this work. Otherwise, I'll have to make a new shaft and get a new sprocket, which is not a big deal. I'll have to take this square drive off the end, which is brazed on there, and braze it onto a new shaft. But I'd like to leave the old shaft in there because it matches the rest of the mower. But otherwise, it's a pretty nice mower. I gotta get a crank for it. There's no starting crank. I've got a rope cup on it now just for ease of starting, but didn't originally have a rope cup. It was crank started out at the end of the shaft. There's actually another piece that goes on the end of the shaft that the crank engages with. And it's missing the air cleaner. Gas tank is extremely beat up, but still holds gas. And it has the optional rubber covers over the wheels, rubber tires they call them. That was an added cost option. And I've got to make some wooden rollers for it. Rollers are missing, probably rotted off. Someone modified these handlebars with these extra pieces of pipe welded on there to give them leverage, because these are actually the clutch engages and disengages the clutch for each wheel. Without being able to disengage or engage the wheels, you wouldn't be able to run the mower around a corner or a curve. You wouldn't be able to steer it. So, but pretty nice mower for being barn fresh and been around for eons. It's one I didn't have. Got quite a few Moto mowers, but I didn't have one with a PB on it. So I'm glad to have it. Not the greatest example, but runs good and it's good enough for me. So when the mower's complete and cutting grass, I'll no doubt make another video. So stay tuned for that. And hope you enjoyed this little video. And again, thanks for watching.